Morning guys, in this video we're going to take a look at Salute 2021.
Scruffy Crow.
Okay, so as you can see I am on a train. It's about 8:20, so I'm on my way down there now. So I got there a little bit later than usual. I got held up. But as I walked through the doors, the first thing that hit me was how much space there was compared to previous years. In fact, they'd managed to park two sort of, fairly large with plenty of space around them planes. One of the first stalls that I did wander across though and saw some interesting stuff was these guys. Now I picked up their containers at Selwig, and they had some even more of their beautiful buildings on display. So yeah, check out those guys' Kickstarter. I'll see if I can put a link downstairs.
Alright, it's just going to sound like a weird thing, but somebody just asked me about a fairy riding a guinea pig. Where are you?
Bad Squiddo Games. And I actually did end up picking up some of these witches. Now, the displays this year were somewhat lacking, if you ask me. But one of my favourite things I saw was actually a sales display rather than a painted one. And it was for TT Combat and their stunning amount of buildings they brought with them. Some really nice stuff on there actually. And then I got to one of my mainstays of everything I always go and look at Salute, and that is Black Scorpion. I also picked up some swag from here as well. I got some halflings. Black Scorpion do make some stunning miniatures. They do Blood Bowl stuff, and yeah, they've recently sort of gone into sort of fantasy type stuff as well as their sort of pirates and cowboys they've been doing for a while. This is some of the cardboard terrain, and it's really interesting stuff. When it's all laid out like this with figures around it, you almost have to take a second glance to realise that it is actually cardboard. I mean, you look at these little edge parts, you can see that it is just folded, sort of like a punch card, like you get in a board game or something. But it's really visually impressive stuff. It's not especially cheap or anything, but I think if you were just trying to get a bunch of terrain on the table and have it look quite nice with very little effort, I think this stuff's possibly a really good call, and I'm actually tempted with some of their sci-fi stuff to start with. So here we have some more cool minis. These ones really tickle my fancy. They're not really the style I normally go for, but they've just got some really nice individual minis with a sort of dark fantasy, sort of Jim Henderson sort of twist, and a moonstone. I also ended up going to the Tabletop Tyrant stand, where I did pick up another case. I love Tabletop Tyrant, and it was cool to see their stuff in person and sort of handle a few of the different sizes of foam and stuff. So one of my favourite things about Salute is the sort of big display games and stuff. You can see some of the massive tables and beautiful paint stuff people have done, and this was one of my favourites this year. It was a sort of small scale, possibly like 10 or 15 mil. And they've done a really good job. I really like the way it all laid out. You really felt like you were sort of in an overview on a proper battle. And there was planes and vehicles. It was a massive display. It must have been 10 by 6 or something. But here is a couple more examples of empty tables of people who have not managed to make it for some reason. I said there was quite a few of these around on the day, and not just vendors that hadn't turned up, but also display games and participation games. There was a few empty tables from those guys, so which just seemed a shame. Oh, here we have some more MDF stuff. Now these guys, but they made some really nice, the nicest World War II MDF stuff I've seen. I really love the way they've done the layer of the brick and the plaster and the shutters and everything. Absolutely beautiful buildings. And these guys were right next to Sarissa Precision, and they blew their stuff out of the water. Here they are, they're called World War Gaming. Yeah, check these guys out. Some of my favourite MDF stuff I've ever seen. They also had various resin bits and pieces on display as well, which were all quite nice. But yeah, didn't quite blow me out of the water the same way as the MDF stuff did. As I just mentioned, Sarissa Precision right there next, and this was their city block stuff. And all painted up. It's a bit chunky, but I really like it actually. I'd love to do a table of that stuff, but it's not going to happen. But yeah, as ever, it was nice to see their stuff in real life. Warbasis, another one of my favourite guys. These are the guys that I got all my MDF Tudor stuff from. But they've also got some other ranges now. They seem to be expanding regularly. But yeah, here's the Tudor stuff that I have. It's nice stuff. It goes together really well. But I'm more than tempted to pick up a few bits and pieces of their sci-fi stuff, especially this Coke can type stuff. I do love that stuff. Next up was the Salute merch stand. It's always a good opportunity on here to pick up a few bits and pieces from previous salutes. That's where I got my Agincourt mug, you can see on my desk quite often. Which was the first year I went, but I didn't pick anything up from that year, so I picked it up later for a couple of quid. And I did pick up some dice from here. As ever, Warmonger / Foundry were here, and they had their enormous stall, but nothing I really fancied. Another cool range that I've always had my eye on but never actually bought into is this World of Twilight stuff. It's really interesting. It's a whole fantasy world with different races and loads of background, but everyone's essentially a small dinosaur, which is different. But yeah, it's really nice miniatures, but just not something I've ever got into. Once again, it's kind of got that Jim Henderson look about it, I think. Another stall that I saw at Selwig and then revisited here was this ABC brushes, and I did pick up a few more bits and pieces because I'm going to do a video looking at their brushes soon, and they're sort of good source of very cheap brushes. And here we have Northumbrian Tin Soldier. Once again, completely unique sort of style of miniatures, very fairy tale. They're a little bit oversized. I've got the Time Bandits dwarves, and
The box is
a bit large,
is
but
lovely.
very nice miniatures. I did pick up something from here as well. But yeah, they do some absolutely stunning miniatures, including these sort of cats and sort of other sort of fairy tale type stuff in a really sort of interesting style, including these crow people, which are the ones I picked up. At this point, it was still fairly early in the day, but I'd pretty much seen all the stands, and I was just sort of wandering around looking at the various games and stuff. And there was a lot less to hook my attention than there had been at even Selwig a few weeks ago. There was a lot of empty space, and there was nowhere near the crowds that you would normally expect at Salute. And I said, these tables here were meant to be having games on them rather than being an extension of the coffee area. And as you can see, there's a lot of empty space. But there were quite a few nice displays. I said mostly historical stuff. This one was another one that really impressed me. I think it must have been about 12 foot long. It started up on this hill and then went right down 12 foot long to the harbour, where there's all this sort of dynamic sort of cinematic action, and then it rose up the hill and into the town. As I said, it was a small scale again, probably 15mm, but it was very impressive. Here's a fairly impressive layout, and this was a participation game, and this is where I ran into my soon-to-be drinking buddies, including Jonny Watson from Jonny Watson Game, link will be in the description. And this was an Alien vs Predator thing, and they had some cool display pieces as well. So after that it was beer o'clock, and many beers were had.
What's the scrubbing the rate?
1801!
Overall, it was a pretty good day out. Salute always seems to be. It's generally my favourite day of the year. The turnout and the missing stalls and traders and vendors and everything was a bit of a disappointment. I didn't mind so much the fact it wasn't as crowded as usual, but getting to the front of some of the stalls was still a bit of a hassle. I did come home with quite the swag bag in the official sort of tote. The miniature is the one from 2020, because obviously 2020 was cancelled, and it looks like they had everything ready. So this is the magazine with the sort of all the information and sort of traders and sponsors and everything in it. And what they've done is they've just done a cover basically to cover this year. Because obviously, if you weren't aware, this event essentially should have been on in April 2020. And then obviously April 2021 was cancelled, and finally we're here in November. That does mean it's only a few months till the next one, which I'm looking forward to. As I said, pretty healthy swag bag, not as much as I normally go for, but I am trying to sort of tone down the amount of buying I do. The main standout thing though, this is a rule book that I wasn't going to get, but I did end up picking up. This is Silver Bayonet by Joe McCullough, the same guy who writes Oathmark, Frostgrave, all that sort of good stuff. So I was just browsing the Osprey store. I don't think I've got any video of that. And I overheard the guy in front of me order a copy of this. And the guy behind the stall said, "Do you want it signed by the author?" Now, I couldn't pick Joe McCullough out of the crowd. In fact, I've only got these guys' words for it. That was even him. But he was kind enough to sign my copy of Silver Bayonet while I told him how much I enjoyed Oathmark. So that was a pretty cool moment. So let's take a look at the rest of the swag. So the actual sort of entry swag bag this year was pretty disappointing. We had the tote, we had various bits of pamphlets and things, and we had the Salute miniature, which, as I said, is from the 2021, celebrating the Battle of Britain. And we've got a small boy playing with these little Spitfire. Pretty cool little miniature, sculpted by Paul Hicks this time. And as ever, it's got the sort of little banner. You can't really see it, but when it's painted, you will. Saying Salute 2020 across the bottom there. So it'd be great to add that to my collection. It's a shame there wasn't a 2021 miniature, because there will be a hole in my collection now, but that's cool. I also didn't get any dice in my bag, but I did walk around to the Salute stand, and I got one of each of the colours. So they've got South London Warlords on that side, on the one, and then the 6 says Scramble, and I got a set of one of each colour. Got a little dice. I got my dice box. Try and do this in the order of the previous bit. So we started off on Bad Squiddo, and I picked these girls up. So these are the Witches. Now I haven't got much use for this sort of full crony one, but these two reminded me of some of my favourite Discworld characters. So now I need like a hippie witch. So if anyone can recommend one that'll match these two to be my sort of maiden to my mother and my crone, please point that out. But yeah, they're kind of nice. Close up, they appear to be a good scale with a lot of other stuff I've got. And they've got nice fine detail. You've got the wood grain in that barrel, cat's fur, and yeah, nice miniatures. And yeah, that was Bad Squiddo Games. Picked up some more base trays from Rendra. I use these for Oathmark, and I've got a few more units, so I've got a few more trays. So these guys fit the sort of either the raised sort of Games Workshop style 20mm models quite well. but also sort of MDF bases, which a lot of my sort of printed stuff I use for, but also the renderer plastic bases that come with all the sort of North Star, Oathmark and Frostgrave type stuff, which are quite nice bases. Not very exciting. Neither of these, as I said, I stopped by the brush stand again, and we just picked up another sort of workhorse sort of brush and another one of these chisel tip ones. I picked one of these up at Selwig, and actually it was really nice for various things, including washes and dry brushes and stuff. It's just a nice shaped brush that you don't see too often. And only a couple of quid each. It's a bargain, made by Pro Art. We've got my Black Scorpion halflings. Now I saw these a while back on the website, but I kind of have a tradition of buying stuff off Black Scorpion at Salute, so I thought I'd wait. I didn't realise how long I'd have to wait for. Now I've seen these sculpts before. I've owned these sculpts before in some ways, because the body of this guy, apart from the shield and the thing here, the sort of pennant, I don't know, were used for their Blood Bowl halfling sculpts, which I did own, and then I sold when I got another halfling team. But the sculpts are really crisp and nice. Here we go, here's this sort of leader looking model with his big hat. I will be using these in my Oathmark halfling army, even though obviously the style, the sort of historical sort of setting that they are kind of in, is a little bit too modern for Oathmark's Dark Age. I think they're going to scale quite nicely. They will get their own video where I'll look at them a little bit more closely. They are resin. I've played with the Black Scorpion resin a bit now. It's actually it's one of the better resins out at the moment. It's fairly flexible. You do have to be careful with things like ankles, but it cleans up nicely, and as I said, their casting is very good. Look, there's almost no mould lines. Got a few little vents and bits and pieces that need tidying, but not much to worry about at all. Yeah, really nicely detailed little miniatures. Then we have these guys from Northumbrian Tin Soldier. So the Tin Soldier stuff does tend to come out a little bit big. So I mean, here's just a barbarian guy from Warlord. So as you can see, he's quite chunky when compared to him. But I'm thinking of using these in my sort of retro Beastmen army anyway, which is all metal. And I think they'll sit alongside them quite nicely. I did consider them for sort of burrows and badgers, but they have a weird mix of hands and wings and stuff, and they strike me more as mutants than anything that would fit in that game so well. As I said, they're just big fun. They're quite weighty actually, miniatures, and they were crows, so I couldn't help myself. As you can see, they tower over those petite little halflings. So not much in the way of miniatures this year. I said far less than I usually pick up at Salute. And then finally, last but by no means least, was this case from Tabletop Tyrant. Kind of hard to show off on this camera angle, but it's got a nice little handle on top. It's got a long shoulder strap, and I have a few Tabletop Tyrant cases. It's got a zip that goes all the way around, so you can take the whole top off. And we have trays of, I've just gone for standard infantry. So each of the trays has 36 slots, so plenty to get a couple of crews in there. And then the bottom tray is a bit deeper for anything with a bit more heft. So we've got quite a big cube there. We can get sort of bigger stuff in there, and then we've got these big spaces. We've got 9 of these for sort of real big stuff, such as these awesome pug tanks that I printed recently. because my idea is to be able to run games of Stargrave, and hopefully I can get every single miniature and objective and everything that I'm going to need to run that game in this one quite small little case. And previously I've always just ordered from Tabletop Tyrant online, but it was nice to see their stuff in person, like I said, and you know, get my hands on it before I bought it. So all in all, it was a good day out. Got some nice miniatures out of it, and I'll hopefully see you guys at the next one. And that's all for this video. Please let me know what you thought down in the comments. Maybe subscribe for more. And as ever, thanks for watching. Bye.